Welcome back, everybody. What we're looking at today is a Star Trek kit that's going to be out this fall. This is the Star Trek Allies and Adversaries set. And this is 8 different ships, 8 complete models with display stands. And they're all pretty small models. This is 1/2500th scale. And the story behind this is that about 10 years ago, Round 2 had 3 sets of small ships like this that they put out. The first was the movie era set, and it had the refit Enterprise, it had the Klingon K'Tinga from the motion picture, and it had the Reliant from the Wrath of Khan. So they had those 3 movie era ships. Then they put out a original series based set, which was the classic Enterprise, the D-7 Klingon ship, the Romulan Warbird, and then they put out a Deep Space Nine themed set, which was the Cardassian ship, the Saratoga from the Deep Space Nine pilot, and then the Defiant. So what they did a few years ago is they took those Enterprise sets, the classic Enterprise from the 2500th original series set, the refit Enterprise from the movie era set, and they combined that with the 2500 scale Enterprise B, C, D, and E, and they put out a 7-ship Enterprise collection in that 1/2500 scale. They also, for that kit, made a 2500 scale NX-01. So if you bought that set a few years ago, you had all of the Enterprises, but you missed out on all of the companion ships, the Klingon ships, the Romulan ships, the extra Federation ships. So this is meant to really complete that 7 Enterprise ship set. Now, just like the 7 Enterprise ship set had a brand new kit, which was the NX-01, this set has a new version of the NX-01. This would have been the Series 5 NX-01 refit. So you can see a few differences on the nacelle end caps, and it should have that secondary hull. Here's our top of box. We have nice pictures of built models from this set. Along the side, we have our decals, and with these being kind of smaller ships, there will be a lot of details done with those decals. More ships along the side. Official names: USS Saratoga, Reliant, NX-01 refit, USS Defiant, Cardassin Keldon class, Romulan Bird of Prey, Klingon D-7, and the Klingon K'Tinga. All in all, 103 pieces. You can see a lot of these are going to be 2 inches, 3 inches long. The Cardassian ship's the longest at like 6 inches. USS Reliant, just about 4. Defiant's pretty small at 2.75. All right, here we go. The Allies and Adversaries set. So we get some of these molded in color. And this is the biggest one. This will be that Keldon class Cardassian ship. All right, first up is our Cardassian Keldon class ship. And so I did double check the internet, and it looks like the Keldon class is the Galore with some modifications added on. So it does look like if you left off some of the parts up on top and on the back, you could leave this as a Galore class. All right, and I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one because I already have a Keldon class Cardassian. This was the ship from the Deep Space Nine kit that was put out a few years ago, and it is the same mold. So you can take a look here and see same parts, but this one has been assembled, and I have gone ahead and I have airbrushed it with some deck tan, so you can see some of the detail on it. It puts together very nicely. And if you wanted it to be the Galore class, you would leave off this top attachment and these 2 rear fins. Those are left off on the Galore class. And looking at these parts, would it look complete without them? Here's what I was hoping for. If you leave off this large section from the Keldon class, you do have this piece that gets added on there, so it will not look incomplete. That's what you need to turn it into the Galore. So leave off the top part, add in this. Our next bag looks like it has our Klingon ships in it. All right, so this must be the D-7. Nice and smooth, kind of free from details there. But a nice part selection, and they look pretty clean. So the nacelles are done in a single piece, just molded on both sides. That's nice, not having to have two halves done there. Oh, this bag has a Romulan warbird as well. So both of these look like they are molded in a silver, and that might work for the D-7. It should have some kind of green accents on it. Well, I guess it's in debate. Some people say the Romulan warbird was done in white. Some people say it was done in silver. I personally think it was done a little bit more in white than this. And unfortunately, due to some Union disputes, the Romulan warbird was destroyed shortly after filming, so no good references of it out there. Once again, nacelles done in a single piece, so no real seam lines to worry about there. And also in this bag, we have our Defiant. And pretty simple, top half, bottom half, and some inserts for the sides just to provide that side detail. Once again, kind of smaller ships. And we'll take a look at those built up. Our Klingon ships seem to have some of the larger piece counts. So top and bottom of the hull. 2 parts for the neck. The bridge section. Fins for that engineering deck. Let's start gluing some of these together. Once again, they are made to be a snap fit, so they push together very well. But just a little bit of glue in those seams. Actually, a very nice fit there. I really do like that. I know the fit will be good, but you definitely want a little bit of glue here. If you don't glue it, there's really not going to be much holding that on. Yeah, this is the first part where I feel the snap fit would not be enough. Glue will absolutely be necessary for this nacelle attachment. Here's a little bridge section to go on top of the command deck structure. Okay, so there's a completed boom, bridge, command structure, pie wedge. All of that is in place. And of course, we'll just glue it on just like this. A fair amount of glue there to hold that on. Nothing like the big models where you have to have some serious engineering to hold that together. This is small enough, it's just going to fit nice and tight and be glued on there. All right, well, we're close. We also have to put on our little pieces. All right, there is our Klingon D-7. And I'm going to airbrush this in a slightly light green. We'll take a look at that. Here is our Defiant. Once again, this is going to be one where I am cheating on again because I have the Defiant from the Deep Space Nine kit. You can see same molding there. Once again, I've assembled this. I have airbrushed a base coat on it so you can see some of the detail. You can see the detail of the side nacelles there, the end pieces. So yeah, pretty good detail for something that fits in the palm of your hand. But that is our Defiant. Here is our Romulan warbird, only 4 pieces, top of the hull, bottom of the hull, and the nacelles. Very simple, squeezes into place. And that's actually pretty tight. We could leave it like that. But I do prefer to glue, even if it is a nice snap fit. The holes on the nacelle are keyed, so you cannot put them on wrong. There's that little post with a little stub, so you have to get the orientation right. Fits nice on there. Once again, let's do a little bit of glue. And as I mentioned before, A lot of people say it was silver. I feel it's a little bit more of a white. There's no correct answer there, but I'm going to go ahead and airbrush it with a little bit more of a white color. All right, next bag up. And it looks like this bag is both of our Miranda-class starships, the Reliant and the Saratoga. All right, so these sprues are identical between the two ships. So you can see they are very smooth, no grid lines on the saucer. These nacelles are done in halves, so you will have to make sure you've got good seams on the top and the bottom of those nacelles. Okay. All right, and it looks like these are once again identical. So we have 2 roll bars for the ship, and I believe you leave the roll bar off for the Saratoga. Yep, and it looks like you do have 2 sets of the alternative weapons for the ship. So you could build 2 Reliant style Mirandas, or you could build 2 Saratoga style Reliants. So some nice options there. That's just a little easier for them to do some identical sprues. Let's look at those built up here in a moment. All right, starting to build up the Miranda-class ships. First thing we have is we have a rear deck piece here. It fits in very tightly. We put some glue right along those parts and on the seam. Like I mentioned, the nacelles come in 2 halves and they get sandwiched around the pylon. Now you do have 2 different types of pylons. This is the pylon for the Saratoga. So you notice it does not go up, have the roll bar. Instead it goes out to hold a phaser cannon. These are the pylon attachments for the Reliant style one, where it goes up to mount the roll bar and it does not go out for phaser cannons. So this will definitely be my Saratoga class ship. You can see you do have another mounting point right there. And it looks like I can put the top saucer on before I put this on from the side. Okay. Very nice, clean snap fit. There is our mounting slot. Okay, must have a snapping piece I haven't snapped in quite yet. Okay, maybe I got it there. All right, and then we will apply some glue and put on that pylon attachment like that. Okay. And of course we'll have one on the other side. Give me a moment to get all of this glued together. All right, I had to clean up some of the little leftover bits of sprue that was causing problems with my fit, and the last pin I had to snap in right there is in the middle, and that's getting us a lot tighter fit on the saucer. Now let's get some glue on there. And the last thing we need to do for the Saratoga class is add on those big phaser cannons. I know it's not the Saratoga class. It's the USS Saratoga. I'm not sure what the exact Miranda class is. But yeah, it'll just have some extra phaser cannons added onto the side like that. This is the ship in Star Trek. This is the ship in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. The pilot that Benjamin Sisko and his wife were on when the Borg attacked at Wolf 359. Now, holding this in my hand, it seems like those phaser cannons are awfully close to the saucer. But I guess that's the way it goes. All right, so that is our first Miranda-class ship. The Reliant builds up the same way, except you have the roll bar on top. And I'm going to spray both of those with a nice glossy white for a Federation movie-era ship. All right, our final bag has our K'Tinga. So you can see a lot of the nice K'Tinga detailing on that ship. Once again, the nacelles done as a single piece. Pretty simple to put these together. And here's the NX-01. So this one was the one that was done as a new mold for the 7 Enterprise set. And you can see it does have grid lines on this one. And they look good. I mean, they're going to be out of scale because on something this small, you wouldn't be able to see them really unless you did them with decals. Nacelles are done in halves, so we'll have to see how well those go together. And there is our secondary hull. All right, let's take a look at the build-up for these two. So our K'Tinga is going to build up exactly the same as the Klingon D-7, with the exception of the bridge has already been attached to the command deck, the pie wedge. Let's build this one. So absolutely no surprise that they would reuse kind of the part scheme and the engineering for the K'Tinga that they did on the D-7. The fit for the nacelles on the K'Tinga is much tighter than on the D-7. And I feel that really would fit well, even if you didn't glue it. Let me clean up a tiny bit of the sprue mark that was left on. And we'll glue that in place. All right, there is our Klingon K'Tinga, along with the D-7. Okay. And it looks like the D-7 is bigger than the K'Tinga. I wouldn't have expected that, but there you have it. Okay. And I'll be airbrushing this in a darker green to represent the K'Tinga from the motion picture. Here we have our NX-01. Let's get some of the pieces off the sprue. All right, so there's actually some pretty cool engineering here for the NX-01. I'm going to start with the bottom of the saucer. And there is a neck piece that will fit in. And this will lead down to the engineering hull. So it goes on like that. Squeeze that in place. And then the pylons have kind of this cool structure here. It fits in right here. We'll be able to glue all of that together. Yeah, it's a good fit. And clearly when the top half of the saucer is on it, that'll be sandwiched in and hold it real tight. But as with all of these, I'm going to add a liberal amount of glue. And then the top of our saucer is going to squeeze down right on it. Okay. Nice satisfying snap there. And we'll do a little bit of glue along the sides. Actually, with how strong that snap was, it probably won't need much. All right, there you can see we have 3 mounting points for the lower hull, 1 on each nacelle and down from the neck. Here is that bottom hull. And I'd better check to see if I snap the deflector dish in before that. So yes, the deflector dish does get mounted in first, and it will be sandwiched between these two halves. All right, so you can see actually 2 posts on the neck going to 2 holes on the secondary hull, or the engineering hull. Okay. And then right up here, there are 2 little slots for those tabs on the nacelle. I'm going to hold that for a moment just to make sure that glues nicely together. You can see all the detail back there. And this is the one with the most detail molded into it. We are also going to have a little deflector dish right here for the front of the saucer. And these parts are going to cover up this kind of unfinished part on the back of the pylons. I feel like the NX-01 has the most cleanup off of the sprues. The sprue connection points just seem a little bit thicker, but overall it goes together very well. I have the front deflector in place and just kind of adding on these nacelles, and of course 2 little mounting points here for 2 more posts. Right, and the NX-01 I'm going to be airbrushing with some chrome silver to get it to the shade I prefer it to be in. All right, I'm going to paint the NX-01. I just said I was going to paint it in chrome, and a little bit of debate about that. Some people feel that the refit would have been done more with the same paint job that the TOS Enterprise had to make it kind of fit in a little bit better. I'm not sure if there's any actual canon answer to whether the color would be more of a silver like the NX-01 from Enterprise or more a gray like it was in TOS. But I'm going to go with chrome silver. All right, let's take this down from kind of the darker gray it was molded into something a little bit more off-white. All right, as we wrap up, let's take one final look at our 8 assembled and base-coated ships. And we'll take a quick look at each of them just so you can see a little bit of the detail. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done on these ships, but this should give you a good idea of what's in this model kit. So we'll start with our 2 Mirandas. And, of course, this is the Saratoga with those phaser cannons. Oh, these are nice little ships. Here is the one we all know so well, the USS Reliant. For Deep Space Nine, we have the Defiant. And it's really dwarfed by the bigger Cardassian ship. This Cardassian ship does, of course, have a lot of really nice detail. That'll be really fun to bring out when we start finishing these models up. Here's our 2 Klingon ships. Now, there's a couple seams I don't quite care for. These seams across the wings of the D-7, I don't really care for those. I think it'll turn out all right. But, yep, K'Tinga and D-7 right there. This seam on the Romulan Warbird, that's the other seam I really don't like, but a very nice little model. And of course, let's get a really good look at this. This is, of course, the one that most people will be looking for. This is the NX-01 refit. So here we are from the side. And hopefully we can get in focus here. So you can see the nacelles. They have those protruding needles like the TOS Enterprise. Grid lines, bridge, engineering section. Here's the aft section. And once again, you know, these are not big models, so the detail they get in them is pretty darn good. Now, a large part of finishing up these model kits will be the decal sheets. Let's get some good looks here. So our first sheet, you can see this is going to have a lot of paneling. A lot of paneling for the Defiant up here on top, USS Defiant. So lots of the paneling and details will be done with decals there. This is the Saratoga, so you can see the grills on the nacelles will be reflected by decals, along with the paneling across the top. The bridge painting looks like it will be done with decals. The RCS thrusters, the phasers, all of those are decals. The BC deck, sensor bands to wrap around the edge of the saucer. Now, the Klingon ships will obviously not have many paneling, but they will have decals for their windows, and their insignias will be done with decals. The Klingon ships will probably involve the most actual painting and working of them. We'll probably do some weathering to bring out kind of the feather shapes on the K'Tinga. You can see there's a lot of detail there, and looks like one fingerprint and probably the paint there. But that's fixable. But yeah, I figure we'll do a lot of weathering and kind of pastels to bring out the detail there. I have to do the two-tone color scheme on the D7. So, of course, it shouldn't be green all the way through. It should be green on, like, the tops, kind of a silver on other areas. And I've got a build on the channel, which was the classic Klingon battlecruiser. That has the two-tone. We'll have to get this guy to a two-tone. So we'll do the most actual painting on those and then just details for the insignia. All right, that Cardassin Keldon class looks like it will be covered in decals to provide all the paneling. And of course, we'll have windows for the warbird and a very nice Romulan warbird painting for underneath. Yeah, that'll look pretty good. Then our final sheet, you'll see a lot of these will look the same because it's for our other Miranda. So once again, there is the Reliant. Lots of paneling, lots of pinstriping. And then we have the decals for the NX-01. So once again, a lot of things like the little landing ports, RCS thrusters, windows, sensor bands, those will all be done with decals. Looks like we'll really cover most of the ship with decals. It's going to be a challenge to figure out what we actually have to paint on those. But yeah, 3 good big sheets of decals. You can see, yeah, the decal sheets dwarf most of these ships. But I think they're going to look pretty good once we get them all decaled and painted. Once again, guys, thanks for following the build. My next video will kind of wrap up these builds and we'll show you completed, painted, decaled models in the next video. But once again, thank you for following. This set should be out very soon in the next couple weeks, so take a look for it at any of your local hobby stores. You can pre-order it online right now at Cult TV Man Hobby Shop. But thanks for following the channel, and I'll be back soon.